Today we're going to take a look at the Barbarian, the last mercenary you get the opportunity to recruit, though oddly enough one of the cheaper mercenaries to equip effectively outside of some insane niche gear. For me, these are the three builds I generally find the most useful with them, so I will cover alternative gear to these in a future video, some of which make these mercenaries even more dangerous, but requiring more active attention to their life pools, while others will be much more affordable. First up, we have the Standalone Barbarian. He doesn't really bring a lot to the party other than his meaty, chunky self, but he is a competent companion and distraction for enemies, with Ethereal Grief, Ariat Face, and Fortitude. While it is possible to eke out a bit more damage with Guillaumes, or have a bit more resist with Treachery, this build is just a basic tank, and will often hold on as well as any other reasonably strong mercenary or minion, like a Valkyrie. As you can tell in the background, he has his fair share of punch, even without support, and is probably the best all-arounder on this list if you're just looking for another body to help with kills. He's also relatively cheap to get. Admittedly, like all of these, he does use ladder rune words, but yeah, you should have those enabled if you're playing single player, and you should be able to trade for a grief fairly easily, even if it's just a cheap grief online. Second would be the Crushing Blow build, which I use with Ethereal Death, Guillaume's Face, and Chains of Honor. That last one will cause a few people to twitch, and I can hear the comments calling out Treachery and Duress already. Those are both good options as well. The main reason I'm using Chains of Honor, though, is it is the only one with Life Leech, Damage Reduction, and Resist all in one package, all of which are the bases we can't quite cover with the rest of his gear. With high enough Crushing Blow, he can be pretty fun to help with bosses, and it is worth noting there is one build beyond this that I don't have an Ethereal 6-socket Colossus Blade Floor, and that is the Last Wish version of this, which generally beats out Death for this use, but it's super expensive and not worth it. This would free up your armor for Treachery or Fortitude, depending on whether you want more damage or more damage reduction. One nice thing about Ethereal Death over Last Wish, by the way, just as an aside, is that it's also usable on your normal Barbarians, not just the Mercenaries, because Death is indestructible. Last Wish is not. And last but not least is one of the more team-oriented, but definitely not for the Necromancer, Barbarian builds. It is the Lawbringer Barbarian. Yes, he is not fun for the Necromancer because he keeps things from being able to be turned into minions. But anyway, there's a lot of options for this build, but we're currently running an Ethereal Lawbringer with Ariat's Face, since I have a good jewel in it, and Fortitude for a pinch of extra damage. This is also a great candidate for Guillaume's Face, since the sword itself has Life Leech as well, and it would speed up your kill rate. It's just I don't have quite as good of a jewel in my Guillaume's, because yeah, this is one of the best economy weapons for the Barbarian as well, the Lawbringer that is, since generally speaking outside of the sword, you really are free to use whatever you want, because it does have Life Leech, it has okay damage, it has some support skills that makes it a lot more viable, so you can kind of mess around with the rest of the equipment and not really worry too much about it. It does kill at an okay speed, it has its own sustainability as we covered with the Life Leech, and yeah, it's kind of serving the same role as the Wrath Rogue, albeit also providing some tanking instead of range, so you kind of have to make your decision there. That said, Wrath does have Life Tap, which lets you leech from undead, whereas Lawbringer does not, but Lawbringer pushes the undead away, so that's kind of a fun thing as well. As always, if you found this useful, hit the like button and stay tuned for more guides related to mercenaries, mechanics, and more.